They compete in different regions. But anyways, we've got ourselves game number 1 loaded up. It's Data C, spawning right here in the bottom left-hand corner. From South Korea, it's RagnaroK.
And in the top right-hand side, from NC Sports, our blue Zerg player is Serral.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you though, Wardy. I am also leaning towards Serral. I mean, people keep saying, right, that it's his worst matchup, and statistically speaking, his Zerg versus Terran and his Zerg versus Protoss are definitely more dominant, but Serral's Zerg versus Zerg is still obviously world-class, and in general, the clash of playstyles, I think it should be pretty interesting, but Serral definitely the more defensive player. I'm expecting RagnaroK to be relatively aggressive compared to Serral in this series, but we're going to find out.
I mean, you can say it's his worst matchup in all of this, but this is the guy that dispatched of Rogue 3-0 in Katowice this year. He beat Reno in the Grand Finals of Katowice this year. It's his worst matchup because he's just so dominant in the other matchups, right? It is actually ridiculous. So, yeah, that doesn't worry me at all. I think you have to be crazy if you come into a series and you're not expecting Serral to win. And most of the time, you know, if he's playing against Maru or Reno, sure, go the other way. But if you tell me Serral RagnaroK and you say RagnaroK's a favorite, I just don't believe you, quite frankly. So, yeah, I think Serral got to come in as a favorite for most people, and we'll see if he can get the job done. Move into the semifinals, of course, hasn't played an offline DreamHack this year as he skipped out on Valencia. So I'm sure that's one he wants to add to his kind of title list this year, especially because he's on a streak right now. He's won, I think, 3 offline tournaments in a row that he's attended, so it's looking pretty good.
Gonna need to get a bigger cabinet just to fit all of those trophies, because he's certainly hunting down for another trophy right here.
Do you think there's a point where he just gives up and he just like puts them in a box?
I feel like he puts them in a corner.
He just rotates them every now and then. He's like,
ooh, yeah,
fancy my DreamHack trophy tonight.
Yeah, every once in a while we have a Serral cam from his home, and there's a trophy case right behind him, and it's absolutely stocked full. There's no way that he can fit another one.
The trophy case is bigger than the door.
Yes.
Because the doors are naturally small. So, yeah, I mean, it's
I guess that's what happens when you earn, like, 1.1 million or something along those lines.
Multiple-time world champion.
in tournament earnings.
But, Loco, does he have a GSL?
That is a very good point. Does he have 5 of them?
Well, now we're just opening discussions we don't want to talk about, are we? This game's obviously open very mirrored, and even right now you see Bane and Nest within a few seconds of each other, so this is really not too much of a diversion on either side. RagnaroK's been a bit more aggressive in mining gas, so he has a bit more of it still, and that Bane Nest came down sooner, and there is a Roach Roaring as well, so it does feel like RagnaroK is looking for aggression early. A bit of a Roach Bane all in super quickly in this game, trying to get a quick one-up over Serral here.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty clever move. So Serral definitely likes to do the same thing most of the time. So the most standard thing to do is to go for the Zergling speed, follow it up with a Baneling Nest, to go into an Evo Chamber, eventually a Lair and a Roach Warren. You will be able to get towards that Roach Ravager mid-game that we see most of the time pretty comfortably. However, RagnaroK has decided to go for a much quicker Roach Warren here, and the only reason to do so is because you want to put on aggression, right? You want to make sure to catch the opponent off guard. So RagnaroK definitely planning on cutting workers here. As a matter of fact, that's what he's been doing. He's saved up some money, and he's going to go straight into 5 Roaches.
Yeah, let's see what Serral's defense will be like. He'll have no Roaches of his own, so he's going to have to be very good with his Lings and make sure he's able to win the Ling Bane fight, because then he's going to need the Lings to be able to help him out against the Roaches. He gets a few Lings there, but loses a Queen in the process, and Serral just doesn't really know about this. He'll have a bit of scouting time. His Roach Roaring starts now, but it's quite a way down the line, and he's going to have some heavy pressure on his front doorstep in the next few moments.
Yeah, the Baneling that he used for the defense right there was stuck right behind the Queen. A little bit of unfortunate pathing right there for Serral. Ended up losing 1 Queen, and he definitely wants to keep that one alive, but as you can see on the production tab, RagnaroK is droning behind this, so he's not going completely all in, but he certainly has to justify this push.
Yeah, he needs to do something, right? Because he's still going to be, you know, delaying a lair because he's put so much money into this kind of Roach investment. Serral going to let his 3rd hatch take some damage. It's not an immediate threat of going down. He obviously wants to try his best to stop this from going, down at all. And he is going to start microing against those Banes, bringing the Queens forward, now pulling them back, and just distracting those Roaches, really chasing and not hitting anything for a long time here. Serral has his own Banes ready. He can produce his own Roaches now as well if he wants to. He hasn't started them up yet, though, as the Lings are looking to get those Roaches as well, and if they can surround them, Serral Serral has a great cleanup here and should be feeling very good as, oh no, RagnaroK rallying drones across the map as well. So he doesn't really find damage apart from forcing 2 spines, and he's going to have a little bit of lost economy on the economy he should have had behind this.
Yeah, and those drones getting across the map, an obvious miss rally, but also a huge tell for Serral that, hey, this is going to be a nice macro game moving forward right now. I don't really have to worry about, well, making any more units if I don't want to. What he's got, though, he's going to send towards the other side of the map, and now it's Serral's turn to get aggressive.
And he has a lot of Banes as well, so he can be quite dangerous here. Surround on this hatchery, and he just wants to force RagnaroK to kind of come and fight this. The Banelings can obviously force the Lings back. Let's see what he can do. He's looking for the wraparound. He's going to commit forward. The Banes will come through as well. Looking to get on top of those Zerglings still. He's getting rid of Queens and Roaches on the low ground. Now even into a mineral line. Looking to take a worker lead off this. That 1 low HP Baneling is good enough. 4 drones going down, and RagnaroK just taking that bit of damage. Suddenly, Serral is up by 12 workers.
Yeah, and he's looking to extend that lead even more. This is what Serral does. Defend, 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 and then eventually overwhelm. This is his bread and butter, the style that he's been playing for as long as he's been competitive. And he does it time and time again in pretty much every single matchup. Now he's got double Spinecrawler. He was really respecting that push as well from RagnaroK, right? We didn't really see him come into the fight earlier when the Roaches first got across, but Serral had 2 Spinecrawlers prepared as well. He's now taking up towards the lair, and I don't think he's really going to be taking any damage here.
It almost felt like the 2 spines finishing was almost enough of an overcommitment from Serral that RagnaroK might have been okay if Serral hadn't done so well coming back across the map, right? Because RagnaroK was very quick to start drawing, Serral did make a road drawn earlier than he would have done otherwise. So it almost had me believing, but yeah, the damage across the map obviously adds up, and Serral was ahead on workers for a while. He is super far ahead on that +1 missile upgrade as well, and that's something that's going to stick around for a long time in this game.
Yeah, that +1 missile is huge. So you see it starting up right now for RagnaroK as well, since the mid game is going to be very Roach Ravager focused. If you both have the same number of units, obviously the units that will deal more damage are going to be superior. And Serral is essentially a full upgrade ahead, so that is his main lead right now on top of those workers that he's also got over his opponent. Lair was a little bit quicker too, so that roach speed is indeed going to start up, and he might be able to combo that upgrade together with, well, for example, +2 or something along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be starting that upgrade up in just a moment.
Yeah, +2 obviously takes a long time to finish, but it's almost like, why not just get it now? Because if you're aiming to hit a timing with just roach speed, yeah, I mean, that's so far away still. Why not just make that investment?
That was a Spire going down, I believe, as we have the first-person view right here of both of these players. That's something that Serral has been enjoying quite a bit in a lot of matchups. Yeah, it's indeed a Spire coming up, so that's how he's going to be spending his advantage. But in the meantime, on the other side of the map, RagnaroK did the same thing. So both players playing Roach Ravager. Now you're going to play that Muta chicken, right? How many people or how many Mutas do you want to make? Do you assume that your opponent is going to be switching away from it after just one round?
Do we know the exact timing on the Spire? Is it like slightly ahead for Serral?
It's like 1 second ahead.
And did RagnaroK see it the moment it went down as well, or was it already seen?
No, he does not know.
Oh, he didn't see it. Serral saw it.
I think Serral... No, he does not.
So no one saw the Spire. Right, okay. My bad. Sorry, it was because we were in the first-person view, and you're like, it's a Spire, and I thought he was scouting, and...
No. I saw Serral putting it down.
I see. My bad. I got myself confused with that awesome graphics. That one's on me, so yes, you're right.
Oh, there you go. He does see it right now.
Yeah, he sees it. That's obviously great. Serral...
It's super important, actually, because otherwise, you know, he might be tempted to maybe morph in another couple of Ravagers or so. Now he decides to pull the trigger, send the Roaches across the map, and he actually decides to double down on the Roach production too. That's kind of interesting. Is he planning on following this up with Corruptors at this point, or is he still going to be making Mutas on the back of it? Yeah, I mean, Corruptors at this point, I mean, to make Mutas on the back end of this is going to be rough, but I think he will because he starts Carapace upgrades, so he is going to make Mutas. He wants to make his opponent really feel like these are the only Mutas he can build, waste time dealing with these Roaches, and then go into his own Mutas, which will be at a higher count. And hopefully, obviously, his opponent's Mutas haven't had much of a chance to do anything. Yeah, plus he's got 8 gas now. So Serral just sniped his opponent's 4th hatchery with that Roach move out. And he's going to be able to start Mutas a little bit later than his opponent, but off of just significantly more income. So he should be able to catch up. Already going for the +1 flyer armor as well. So that allows those Mutas to be a little bit more tanky, which in a straight-up battle against the opponent's Mutas definitely helps out a lot with the bounce attacks.
And he's going to have +2 missiles on the Roaches, so if he does want to just kind of bring the Roaches across as well, he will be winning that fight.
Oh, and would you look at that, RagnaroK actually still doubling down right now on the Ravager production too, not really expecting his opponent to go Mutas because he hasn't seen it.
Yeah, RagnaroK's like a scout is painful right now, and Yeah, Serral had the Roach advantage as well, so he didn't necessarily need to go mutas, and now the mutas are here, and RagnaroK's going to be like, oh, because his entire investment of mutas is wasted if he has less of them. And it's not just having less, he's behind the upgrade, and he's just going to GG out. He isn't even going to try and fight it. Yeah. That's a very quick GG.
That is a very quick GG.
I mean, I know you're behind. Yes, Serral's in every favor there, right? We've set it up like that. But you usually still try and fight. You still try and counterattack. You still try and make Serral make a mistake. I don't disagree that he's probably dead, like a minute down the line. But you're in the quarterfinals of Atlanta. You've flown all the way there. I remember Snoot said this one time, and as why he didn't rush games when he was ahead. He's like, look, I spent hours and hours flying here. What's the extra 5 minutes to make sure I win, or to see if I can win? And that's why I'm surprised by the GG. Not because I think it was wrong.
Yeah,
just
this is not a ladder game.
Yeah,
this is not a ladder game. Like, he was significantly behind in upgrades, behind in army, behind in economy, but he was still closing in on a maxed out supply. And obviously, with a maxed out supply count, you always have a chance to potentially upset your opponent, even though the chance might be less than 10%, maybe less than 5% against someone like Serral. You may as well try, right? Maybe put all of your eggs in one basket, go for one all-out assault, and try to obtain the victory right there, because that's certainly... If you're playing a best-of-5 series, if I was Serral right now, I think I'd already won, right? I've already got the feeling like this is definitely not feeling comfortable for him at all. I am gonna have an easy time moving forward right now, but...
I mean, the argument you can use is obviously RagnaroK just wants to get to the next game. He doesn't need to think this one over or anything, right? He's just ready to kind of go into the next one, but... And maybe he just feels like it was over after he got defended early too, so... Yeah, I mean, maybe RagnaroK is very happy just to get out of there and get on with things, as he'll be down a game, and Serral up 1, and looking to extend that lead going into map number 2 in the next few moments.
Yeah, pretty classical game right there, though. That's how we usually see Serral win, right? He defends early game aggression, and then he builds on that lead that he creates for himself. Game number 2. It takes place on the map Tropical Sacrifice, and spawning right here in the bottom left-hand corner from South Korea, it's RagnaroK.
In the top right-hand side, taking that 1-0 lead with an amazing defense in the early game from NC Sports, it is Serral. Atlanta is cheering for him.
Well, they were cheering as well for RagnaroK. People just want to watch good StarCraft.
You think? You don't want to watch bad StarCraft?
I mean...
I'd watch any StarCraft.
I was going to say, I cast a lot of really bad games too, and it's really fun. Sometimes the worst games can be the most fun.
Hatchery first again, so no shenanigans super early on in this series at all. Just both going to match each other, and that's fun, right? I mean, RagnaroK not feeling like he has to go that aggressive. And don't get me wrong, he was pretty aggressive in the last game. We could be talking pool first, some kind of crazy drone pull. Well, I am intrigued after that first game what he sort of brings out on Tropical Sacrifice. It's also a good map for playing mutas on as well, so either of them could take that route at some stage as well.
Yep.
The doors are really wide open here for map number 2.
Yeah, I think if RagnaroK would have won game number 1 with that aggression of his, he would have felt pretty good about going to Tropical Sacrifice. But right now, this is very much so a map where you most of the time play a straightforward macro game, and Serral definitely seemed to have the lead in that department in this series so far. We'll see. I mean, Serral has gotten more aggressive, right, over the last couple of years. I would say in probably like 2018, 2019 or so. I mean, besides winning practically everything, he also played the same build orders very regularly.
I think Serral was quite good at being kind of aggressive sometimes.
Yeah, but like he's been doing it more over the last couple of years, I feel like.
He definitely added it more because he needed to be a bit more variety.
Yeah.
But I do feel like he's always been that sort of play. He wasn't afraid to just say, hey, look, I'm the favorite. I'm just going to all in you. He's, sometimes he's just very happy to do that. I remember him trying to do that against Haas in the Valencia finals, backfired quite badly in that first game. Put that one aside for the rest of the series.
That was interesting, actually.
Yeah,
I like the solution to that as well when they started taking the third hatchery first, rather than the natural expo. Good luck cannon rushing that Haas. It's a long time ago.
Here's a couple of Lings passing each other by in the early stages. I'm just going to be seeing our Ling speed coming up. So again, kind of mirroring each other early. As what we saw last time around as well is pretty similar for the most part. RagnaroK held on that gas a bit longer. He had the slightly quicker Bane Nest, and that led to him being aggressive, right? So it really made sense. If we don't see a Baneling Nest from RagnaroK, the opportunity maybe becomes, he starts an Evo Chamber. I was going to say the opportunity usually becomes you kind of, bypass the Banelings and you get a bit aggressive with Lings, and then you kind of play Roaches after that, and you play a bit of Ling Roach. that could very well be this, with just going into a carapace upgrade as well, and just kind of working from there.
Yeah, he's got a couple options, right? You can go melee, you can go armor, you can of course also go missile if you're really feeling fancy, and there's a pretty quick Roach Warren once again coming up.
Cancel the Evo Chamber for it.
Oh. Interesting. Did he scout anything in particular that threw him off here?
I feel like it wasn't meant to be. It's almost like it wasn't meant to be an Evo Chamber in the first place. You know?
Yeah, maybe. He did have enough gas right there.
Did Serral scout this Evo Chamber? Because if Serral saw the Evo Chamber, then he's now Roach all in.
That is very hard to tell, actually. Did he see it?
No, I think because he's not been there recently, so the Roach run would have been smaller if he'd seen it before now. So yeah, I think Serral's seen an Evo Chamber, and RagnaroK's just going to try and trick him. But the rescout from Serral, as long as he double checks that it is a Roach Roar now, should be enough to obviously tell him what's up. And Serral's already making a lot of lings, not overbuilding banelings either, just kind of using this one to zone lings out for the moment. 8 roaches on the way from RagnaroK, and Serral is doing nothing but building units off of a slight worker lead. Just needs to keep that third hatch alive, and Serral is going to be looking good as RagnaroK is already starting up a couple drones, but he will still want to do something with this entire roach investment.
Okay, so Serral transitioning towards his own Evo Chamber. He'll probably be putting down his Roach Warren as well momentarily. It's going to be a small lead once again here for the finisher. Now even grabs a couple of those units in the middle of the map. One of the roaches goes down. Is he going to commit to the rest of them as well? Yeah, it's going to be quite a few of those Zerglings falling here, though. Yeah, I think he probably should have disengaged a little bit sooner, although that is a lot of banelings.
That's a lot of banes to have on the other side of the map, and I almost wonder what you start to do with them. If the roaches stay at home, then you can't do anything. But if they did move across, you just run them into mineral lines. There's a very good chance they get a lot of drones because there's not going to be any defense back at home. So
yeah, there's also actually no Overlord on that section of the map at all, so RagnaroK would not see them until they get onto the creep, which is a couple seconds of heads up, but probably not as much as you're looking for against, what is that, like 8? Oh, he's going to make even more. Against like 8 Zerglings.
Wow, Serral.
Or banelings, rather, sorry.
Serral is just trying to hit a big timing here, right? Just more lings, more banes, is down a lot of workers. He's at the very least looking to cancel the third hatchery of RagnaroK. Ideally, he wants to get into the natural and get on top of workers as well. And here we go. He's just going to bust down this first set of roaches, get his way in. He needs to surround these roaches to fight properly. Extra banes showing up, but so far the defense is good. Those roaches not dropping. Can we open up the wall? Yes, we can. Serral gets in. He starts to surround 8 roaches in production from RagnaroK, but now the drones are being chased away. 6 go down immediately, and the lings just keep on coming. But does Serral have enough? The queens are going down too. He's got more banelings for more drones. How much damage is enough? I don't really know. I mean, he's equaled the worker count. Generally, you want to take a lead off this.
Yeah.
He still doesn't have his own Roach Roaring, as he does still have one bane just to bring drones low so the lings can finish up quickly.
What a crazy little attack. I like that Serral was like looking at those roaches. He's like, you know what I need? More banelings. That will solve all my problems. Maybe that's the case in like late game Zerg versus Terran and Zerg versus Protoss, but not entirely convinced that that was the best solution to the problem that Serral was facing right over here. Anyways, obviously we're waiting right now for the RagnaroK counterattack, right? He's going to be able to clean all of this up, and how much will Serral actually...
How much has Serral done though since like there's only been a few lings left? I feel like the last 10 drones have all been from like 10 Zerglings.
Yeah, you're very right.
And that added damage really forces RagnaroK to be super all in right now, and Serral is very close to building his own road.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a baneling nest. So RagnaroK, he's going across the map right now. Serral can just hold down the Zergling button over here, and that's exactly what he's doing. He doesn't need to fight this. He definitely shouldn't be fighting this here.
He's droning, which is, I
guess...
That
is very risky.
I feel like the +1's risky. The drones probably make sense because he could just afford them anyways. Now he just makes more lings and banes. He's just going to send it on ling bane. He does not feel like he needs his own roaches because he believes he can overwhelm this. Let's see if that is true. If he surrounds these roaches, there's a possibility for a very good fight. Cancel the +1 to get as many banes up as possible. Let's see what we can do as the first banes will start connecting here. Few lings get into Serral's natural, going to cause a bit of chaos, but the lings have that full surround on the roaches, and now the roaches can't split away from the banelings. Serral just gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna do the things that don't really make the most sense immediately. I'm not gonna give you a chance to get back in this. I'm just gonna kill you. And that is what you call some killer instinct.
I almost feel like he initially made those 10 or so banelings because he still assumed it was like a +1 carapace push or something along those lines, because I don't think he actually clicked on the Evo Chamber when he rescouted with a Zergling.
Yeah, he didn't quite know what it was.
Yeah, so I almost feel like he initially made them to counter a Zergling-based army, and then he's like, you know what? I can still make this work. What I need is not 10 banelings. I need like 18. That will fix all of my problems. Either that or he just planned this all in advance, but did seem a little bit funky to make that many banelings into, look at this attack over here, into a road wall like that. Like, this really did look like it wasn't going to work initially.
Yep, Banes is going to roll on up and Roaches is going to get knocked on down. This was crazy as well because, I mean, look at the army supply RagnaroK has more. You look at the drones, Serral's got a lot to kill. These extra Banes that finish up and run through are so important just to kind of get that extra bit of damage dealt, right? Just every single drone you kill was so important here. And like I say, like right now, it wasn't so bad. It was this that happened.
Yeah,
these few Lings and these couple of Banes that just get like 10 more workers. Like from here, and he just had a few on the third base as well. Made all the difference. And yeah, I feel like this fight was doomed from the start. When Lings surround roaches like this, it's just not a fair fight.
Yeah, Serral even canceling that +1 missile upgrade here just to squeeze out a couple more Banes. Looking absolutely dominant right now in his quote-unquote worst matchup. Serral definitely showing us that he is also very good in Zerg versus Zerg. And now it's up to RagnaroK to win 3 games in a row. How in the world is he going to pull that off?
Not a lot of people have done that against Serral.
No.
Not a lot of people. Clem's done it once on the Cup.
Even Serral right now with a cheeky little smile.
He's probably feeling pretty good, man, you know?
Someone probably sent him a message. What do you think he got?
Well, I'm not sure. Like maybe something in the lobby?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. RagnaroK saying help.
Help me, please.
Go easy.
Banelings are not supposed to counter roaches. What did you just do?
Maybe just a cheeky little question mark. You know how
yeah, the Koreans are fond of just a single question mark.
Yeah, the single question mark. It says a lot.
Alrighty, game 3 in this best of 5 series. We find ourselves on the map inside and out. And spawning right here in the top right hand corner, we have a RagnaroK.
Paving a pathway to the semi-finals right now with his 2-0 lead. He needs one more from NC Sports. It's Serral.
Looking dominant. He had a little bit of a tough start against Zaun earlier today.
Yeah, that was the closest series than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think we all agreed that that should have been well, at least as casters, we all thought that that was going to be a little bit more straightforward than it ended up being. Serral still ended up winning there against Zaun, but yeah, it was pretty close.
Yeah, the series overall was just... Serral had way more trouble than we thought he was going to. And maybe we underestimated...
And he lost the late game too, right? Like that's the most surprising part.
Game? Yeah.
Yeah, generally speaking, a late game Zerg versus Protoss, Serral doesn't really lose that, but...
We were upstairs balancing how Zerg never loses these positions.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, we were literally... And
then we looked away for like 3 minutes and Serral lost.
Yeah, and then the GG screen was up. We all looked at each other like, what happened? Went back on the road. We're like, Serral just lost all his crap.
Turns out Protoss can win late games EVP.
Storm good unit. Yeah, but no, it was definitely a tougher showing than it was maybe meant to be, but otherwise I feel Serral's got to be pretty happy with how things are going. You know, he could be looking at playing against Clem tomorrow, right, if he advances here. But obviously Bunny dealt with Clem, and Bunny's good, but I feel like offline Serral's got to feel pretty darn good against Bunny. So Serral's got to look at this entire thing and say, hey, I've got a good run to the finals. But boy, when he gets to that finals, it's going to be a test.
So later today, we're going to be having a look as well at Hero versus Estrella, as well as Solar versus Maru. Figure out what's going to happen in the other half of this playoffs.
Yep.
All of those players are really good, but I do think that Serral is going to feel pretty comfortable with his current position in this tournament right now, because the road seems, well, at the very least, relatively open.
Absolutely. Let's see if RagnaroK can make a fight here. You know, we have seen some crazy things today. Serral's been playing a pretty wild series. RagnaroK obviously trying some funky stuff and really kind of getting shut down on every pathway he's tried so far, unfortunately. So I wonder if he just tries to play a bit more of a straight-up game, you know, doesn't try as much trickery. And I know that feels bad when you're playing against Serral, who's, you know, so strong, so solid, his macro is on point. But maybe that's just the way you've got to go. Trust yourself, try and force some mistakes, just believe in your own ability, rather than just the trickery, which so far, not working at all.
No, very much so. If that's the case, though, then you have to play a straight-up game against Serral, which is also kind of dangerous.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a great option. It's just he's kind of tried the other avenues, right? Maybe you could try something like Mutas again, but Inside Now doesn't really lend itself to that. This kind of is the map which lends itself to quick, fast attacks and maybe some cheeky things, but again, if you've tried that and it's not been working, do you try it one more time?
I think almost that Serral is more likely to be the person here to go for the more aggressive build, right?
Yeah, and just say you try and finish it out early, see what he can do maybe. I can agree with that, actually. I feel like that could potentially happen.
You should start up an Evo chamber right now. That would be the standard. Probably should have started it up like, 15 seconds ago. Yeah. Generally, you start it up right around the time that the Baneling Nest finishes, so Thought
Good
maybe if
scout.
he's not starting it up, maybe he's got something else in store for us in this game, but he must have been busy trying to get that scouting circling in and running around the map.
Fantastic scout. I mean, sees absolutely everything. He knows there's no trickery coming out of RagnaroK. What he doesn't know is what upgrade comes off of the Evo chamber, and a Carapace a little surprising, right? Because there was a Baneling Nest, you know, the Roach Roar wasn't down or anything. I could have just seen this being missiles and then just going into the Roach Roar and right and just playing Roaches, but Serral's going to match him and go Carapace as well, Loco, so a bit of Carapace, bit of Ling Roach versus Ling Roach. What you gotta hope here is that RagnaroK or Serral don't really kind of like cut drones to try and hit a timing, because naturally if you cut drones early, your opponent's probably going to be able to hold this just by droning and then making units.
Yeah, so generally speaking, the only reason to go +1 Carapace at this point in the game is if you want to go for some sort of aggressive opener. Generally, if you want to play macro, you'll go for that missile upgrade because it benefits more in the mid game. However, in the early game, of course, the armor upgrade, well, the Zerglings get benefit from it, the Banelings, the Roaches, the Ravagers, everything. So if you want to go for some sort of early game all-in, usually based off of like 3 bases, you will opt to go for the +1 Carapace instead. And now they're almost trying to play that trick on one another as they're both just holding down the Roach button. Serral cutting 4 drones earlier though.
Yep. No, I mean, obviously it's they kind of match each other, so if you cut drones earlier, you're generally in the worst position. So unless Serral can do some crazy micro that RagnaroK cannot, then yeah, this looks good for RagnaroK. He starts up a lair. I don't really mind that. I think that's fine as well. Should just give him an advantage because there's just no way he's really dying in these upcoming moments, I don't think. Yep.
So, where are they going to fight? Because that's also another question, right? Ideally, you want to decide where this battle is going to take place.
It's going to be RagnaroK's side, but
yeah,
has the exact setup to turn Serral away, and I wouldn't have seen all those Roaches. Serral will just say, nah, starts droning himself and maybe just starts getting set up into a lair, and then go, right? He just realizes this isn't going to work, so he just taps out of the attack, but yeah, he's been trailing for a while now.
Yeah, this is great right now actually for RagnaroK. Okay, that's not so great, but he does have that +1 Carapace, so he doesn't lose literally everything. That being said though, the lair here is quite a bit quicker. The +1 missile is a little bit quicker here as well for RagnaroK, so he's got a small tech advantage. But overall, this game is still relatively even. He decides to leverage his way into a Spire right now, so I quite like that.
Yeah, I like it a lot as well. As Serral still building quite a few Roaches, new into still what he might do if he might try something of a timing still, but yeah, he is behind on that tech. Obviously, the Spire down for RagnaroK might be Serral's opening if RagnaroK hits the mutas, but then Serral can go just before they're out. But yeah, for the moment, he's not really finding much of an opportunity to do anything, and it's just a bit of a waiting game. We start up an Overseer immediately when his lair's finished, so wants to go prioritize that ability to scout in and figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I'm expecting RagnaroK to go for a move out here in just a moment, right? As soon as he's got that Roach speed done together with the +1 missile, he can get some work in, and he can follow up with mutas as well. Serral's gonna try and figure out exactly what the opponent is going for, and this is important. Usually what you do is as soon as you see a Spire, which he is gonna figure out, I believe, maybe not. Anyways, usually you send all of the units that you got across the map, which is Serral. Okay, he's doing it anyways. Like, he's still sending everything he's got across the map. Star senses are tingling here.
He needs to hit before +1 missiles kicks in though, right? Because otherwise he's actually behind on that upgrade.
Yep.
Or then wait long enough, but by then he might be in some trouble. Gets a cancel on the 4th, I mean that is good. Trying to sneak those Banelings by, good catch on our observers, picture in picture. Doesn't hit the mineral line though, RagnaroK defends it. RagnaroK is forced to build more Roaches, and by building more Roaches, he's not been able to exercise the mutas yet, but he's got 11 gas, and there is 7 mutas starting up. Serral will build into the Hydra Den though, so his preparation should be somewhat okay for this.
Yeah, the Hydras are still going to be a little bit later than he ideally wants. Is RagnaroK going to dive straight towards the other side of the map, or is he going to try and just kill those the Overlords instead?
I like this counterattack again though. Serral just going to say, oh, I can get myself a few Roaches here. Actually, I don't think he can with the Carapace and the missiles finishing. I would have rather you just got the cancel on the hatchery another time. He is going to get them, but you
just doubt the GOAT? You thought he wasn't going to get that?
Well, I thought he would get it a lot more easily, so you'd have the links left over. I still think I would have preferred him getting rid of the hatch, though. Maybe
Hydras are coming up right now. There's a couple of Queens out as well, of course. They're going to help out here when it comes to buying time until those Hydras are out in the battlefield. This is all a little bit dicey right now, though. I'm liking this position for RagnaroK more and more.
Yeah, as the Hydras need to gather up and they need to start putting in some work quickly, but there's no Spore Crawlers, so it's going to be difficult to stabilize your first few Hydras, and that's exactly what you're seeing. As they're popping out, the mutas are just taking the fight onto them. If the Spore was here already, this wouldn't have happened at all. We are still losing quite a few mutas, So, I mean, it's not been terrible for Serral, but don't get me wrong, it's not been great either. Losing Hydras like that's expensive, and he tries to push across the map with the Roach Ravager, just doesn't see an opportunity to move on in. I do feel, though, if you get maxed out here as Serral, you can still play a pretty okay game, but you need these Hydras to get comfortable, and right now that just is not happening. The Mutas are realizing they've got free reign. The lack of Spore Crawler here is what's really going to make Serral's life difficult.
Yeah, I don't know if he made any other Spore Crawlers anywhere else either, because I think he probably would have moved the one over towards that third base. He's desperately trying to bile the Mutalisks down, which, you know, should not work at all at this level of play. Desperate times call for desperate measures, but RagnaroK is picking off unit after unit. The Hydras are just bleeding out. I mean, he is slowly dwindling those Muta numbers. At the same time, he's making an aggressive move through that center of the map, straight towards the other side. Serral does have a very large number of units here, but keep in mind, the Mutas can always come back home.
Yeah, I would have liked Serral to have done this just a little bit sooner, because obviously if he'd done it sooner, the Mutas would have chased them, and then he would have got the Hydras gathered up at home. Obviously, this is now a bit more of a desperation move, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's just a bit too late. Serral's taken a lot of damage. He might get a Hydra count up now, but obviously his Roach count has dwindled, and I think a counterattack from RagnaroK would probably seal the deal and get a map on the board for himself. He will start a fight back in this series.
Excellent little game right here from RagnaroK, though. So he found out that his opponent was doing... There you go, GG. He found out that his opponent was doing the exact same build that he was doing, and you brought up the lair and that you thought it was fine. I was thinking, maybe that's a little bit much. But that's what ultimately allowed him to go straight into that Spire, go for the Mutas quicker, and yeah, it allowed him in a better mid-game position right there while simultaneously defending at home. Worked out brilliantly right there for Rag.
Everyone in Serral just thought he'd scared RagnaroK from building Mutas for that little bit longer, because otherwise, if he just had a Spore up, he would have been able to stabilize way better.
Yes.
And if he doesn't get a Spore, it says to me he believes he can get the Hydras out, and 20 seconds, 30 seconds, he would have had enough Hydras. So it's just that little kind of guess, I think, from Serral that says, oh yeah, I think I'm going to be okay here, to just sort of like skip the Spore. Obviously, he absolutely was not. Yeah, he just thought he had a little bit more time, and yeah, this is just damage. You just can't deal with this, right? The Hydras keep going down, and the Roach Ravager just sitting here. Like, what if right now the Roach Ravager already starts moving, the Mutas maybe have to chase, the Hydras have, you know, get more of a chance to gather up? Yeah, I think at any point the Roach Ravager going across the map would have been a little bit more hopeful.
Because now the Mutas are coming back home as well, right? Like as soon as the Roaches engage over here, you can see that red dot on the mini-map moving back home, and that's that clump of Mutas that was annoying Serral for a while there. He also decided to go for the for the ranged upgrade first on the Hydra, so maybe he thought he just simply had more time. Right? He didn't go for any of the Spore Crawlers or anything along those lines, and it just made those Mutas really difficult to hold. Either way, RagnaroK gets a point out on the board, and could be the beginning of something.
Absolutely. No, I mean, gets the point, stays alive in this series. This was looking to be a very fast, brutal series with the first two games, right? So
yeah,
RagnaroK breaking that momentum is step one out of a lot of steps you got to do to take down Serral at this point, and you know, got to feel good, right? You played kind of a similar game, you know, you played kind of just similar strengths. He just did things a little bit better, right? He just realized, hey, we're doing the same thing. I can cut drones a bit later. I can be a bit greedier on my lair time and then tech up a little bit sooner. Upon doing that, he put himself in a position where he was able to win out. In the top right side, from Alpha X, keeping this series alive for a little bit longer at the very least, it's RagnaroK.
His opponent looking strong in game number 1 and game number 2 of this series, but ended up losing the third map. He's from Finland, and he is Serral. The map is Stargazers. We haven't seen it a whole lot. I'm always a fan of this map because it usually brings some very fun gameplay.
And it's a weird one for CVZ as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is.
You got the in-based kind of question mark about. It's just a tough map to really play, and later in the game as well, it's kind of very one-dimensional on where you can attack, so you can maybe get into those kind of drawn-out stages, as obviously this is earlier pool and earlier gas from RagnaroK.
Yeah, so maybe there is going to be a macro follow-up here, but RagnaroK definitely looking to get aggressive here in the earlier stages of this match. Decided to go for a pool first, followed up by a gas, and then also that hatchery on the low ground. This is, of course, going to allow him more Zerglings out earlier on, but honestly, I don't think Serral should be all too bothered. Now, how many links is he going to make? You should really not make more than 6, I don't think, here.
I think 6 is pretty much the number that you just set up into your queen. And with those 6 lings, they arrive at a time where you're going to have to run around a little bit with drones, lose some mining time, maybe lose a drone or 2.
Yeah.
And you have the potential to catch the first queen potentially as well, depending on how well Serral deals with this. So
he's dodging the Overlord scouts right here from Serral, so trying to get those Zerglings across the map unscouted. Serral is going to see the timing of the natural here in just a moment, and that should tell him all that he really needs to know, but yeah, if he is going to autopilot, this could get a little bit spicy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He needs to just be a little bit careful, micro on point. He starts up 2 queens, 2 lings. We'll see how well he does defending the drones, which again, just at this point, want to start going down to the low ground. So it's the perfect time for 6 lings to show up, because there's going to be nothing on that low ground bar a couple of drones, which are ripe for the picking. They're actually going to go in the main. Surprised about that.
This is RagnaroK trying to outsmart his opponent over here. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure if I agree with that move. At this point, there's a 4-drone advantage for Serral just because he went for the more conventional hatch into a gas, into a spawning pool. Excellent micro here so far.
RagnaroK's link flooding though, so he's completely cutting drones to just keep on building lings. This can still then work, of course, as we see just Serral continue to chase down those lings, and RagnaroK wants to keep Serral as busy as possible. Big Baneling Nest from Serral. He wants that. He wants to make sure he's got some way to help deal with a higher link count, even when he's got more drones. That's going to be very important. This queen chasing that Overlord back a bit, trying to deny vision. Serral has these 2 lings, and he wants to just keep information check for a 3rd. Can he see the ling count here? He's going to go diving forward to see if he can make it in. He's dodged the lings so far. He sees a few more, though, and that's a lot more lings than RagnaroK should have right now.
Yeah, he also saw the lack of drones right there on the low ground, which may also be enough of a tell. Well, now he certainly knows, since the units are running by the Overlord, we're going to set up a wall here at the front. 2 queens are ready. Baneling Nest is not done just yet right here for Serral, although he did start it nice and early, and he should be able to get some Banelings out on the battlefield here in just a moment.
Yep, first one started morph. Serral just going to buy as much time as he can with this Evo wall before he has to fight. He's going to pull the drones off the low ground, try and make sure he can maintain that worker lead. The queens can obviously wall here as well, and the Banes are going to be done in a moment, so this is looking great for Serral. Banes are going to be out, and then it's so difficult for RagnaroK to do anything, and he has 9 workers down. He's only just started droning, and Serral is going to take control of this game.
Yeah, excellent crisis management right there from Serral. Not even hesitating for a moment, just knowing exactly what he needed to do, pushing the units and putting those Banelings even in the right position already, as well as he wanted to back up in that direction with the queens. Now he decides to go for a Roach Warren, and RagnaroK is sitting on an awkward amount of Zerglings at this point in the game, but he's caught up in the work account.
Yeah, Roach Warren makes sense though from Serral. I think he just says, hey, you're so far behind, how do you defend a Roachling Banelin?
Yes.
I've had so much more economy than you at this stage. I think it is going to probably be quite tough for RagnaroK, as Serral already has the Banelings as well, so he can put all his gas into Roaches if he wants to. Or just start up that +1 missile upgrade and just slowly get into your Roaches and play a bit more of a macro focus.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be too aggressive here. Yep. He's already at a pretty solid advantage here, but I wouldn't have minded seeing him go into, for example, +1 Carapace. Ooh, he really wants to grab that big group of Zerglings, but RagnaroK a little bit too good for that right now.
Just a little bit as our Lings and our Banes gonna come on through here. More Lings up on the top side from RagnaroK, just trying to find a way to deal some damage, but the Banes gotta be careful of them.
If this was me, would have lost all of them multiple times.
Me too, man.
No shame in that.
You don't learn without losing the Lings a few times, right?
Well, I've lost them more than a few times. That's the problem, Wardy. Even after 1,000 times, I still haven't learned.
Didn't have to say that out loud, Loco. Our last coming up here from Serral as well, so just continuing to tech on through. RagnaroK is just a bit behind on everything that's going on. Obviously, still no 3rd hatch from him either. And he has no real pressure to deny the 3rd hatch with. Like, yes, these Lings, but Serral's not leaving his units to go across the map, so well, yeah, he's defending fine.
Couple of free Overlords flying into the natural expansion right now of Serral. He says, thank you very much. Gonna be able to pick those off. RagnaroK has been running around with these Lings for a very long time, trying to grab units, but it's just not happening. Not really liking that all too much. Now finally it seems like there was a big Baneling detonation, as the Zergling clump is a little bit smaller, and there was some green as well on the edge of our screen.
It was just that little bit, wasn't there, as Lings continue to scoot on out of there. Just going to be seeing Serral still giving chase. That supply advantage is still in play with the +1 missile upgrade now about to complete. And those couple Banes of RagnaroK trying to come forward, but not quite succeeding. Just scaring Serral off. I mean, that's still fine. His Roaches are coming over, so you'll just poke and prod and see if you can get a cancel on a 3rd hatch.
Spire coming up right now as well here for the finisher. Making that transition that we've seen a couple times already in this game. RagnaroK is just now trying to secure a 3rd base, right? So things are Yeah, a little bit awkward here. He's got to try and maybe go for a little bit of a roach push, but what exactly do you do right now as Rag? I feel like if this was a ladder game, he probably would have done what he did earlier in this series.
Just leave.
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, maybe a little bit earlier, but...
It's brutal, but yeah, I mean, you're right. What does he do? The Spire is such a smart play, right? Because Serral can't really die going into this Spire, and it's extremely difficult for RagnaroK to stop this Spire from being effective in some way, shape, or form, right? So, yeah, I like the move a lot. It is maybe going to give RagnaroK a bit of a chance in the Roach game, but then Serral's going to have the Muta control, and Mutas are just amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing something like a Nidus Worm or something along those lines. RagnaroK already has a unit, a spotter unit inside of that pocket base. Definitely a potential for him to maybe sneak it into the main base of the opponent. Anyways, none of that is happening here. Serral going for a cheeky little Zergling run by here, but now that Spire is done, and, well, RagnaroK doesn't know.
Yeah, no idea at all, but Serral's making a lot of roaches, so he doesn't exactly have the setup to go straight into those Mutas, though he still holds an 8-worker lead. I mean, he doesn't really need to go rushing into the Mutas either, so he can just do it at his own timing, as we do have that little drop lord coming in. RagnaroK needs a way to do some damage, and this is absolutely not a bad way to get something done, at least. Yeah,
he's going for Spire play on just a handful of gases, right? It's not like Mutas, can really come out in big numbers right now, and this could actually even the tide here quite nicely.
Yeah, let's see what these junks can do. They want a few drones at least to even out the numbers.
Oh,
he gets one.
Did he get one? Okay.
Yeah. So a single drone carcass on the ground.
Poor drone.
Use the odd one out.
Okay, well, this is what Serral has been preparing, though. But RagnaroK has caught up really nicely here, in that supply count in particular. Serral's still ahead when it comes to his upgrade lead, but of course, at this point, they're both at 1-1, so that doesn't really matter all too much. He's going to start denying all of that mini-map vision, though, and that's going to be tricky for RagnaroK, because he will be blind. He doesn't really know exactly what's happening out in that map anymore. Yeah, Muta's just here to harass those Mutas for the time being. Or the Overlords, rather.
Blind and supply blocked as well, right? So he was held back on supply for a little while. Slowed down that little bit, used it well, made some spores, got the Hydra Den started at the very least. Serral still not deciding to go forward with his roaches, and I do wonder when he's going to go. He didn't make too many Mutas, right? So he's definitely looking to utilize the roaches at some stage here. As he just looks for another Overlord, a couple Queens come forward, he'll finish one off, get out of there still, and now he'll start to chase down those roaches. This is exactly what we were saying in the last game, right? If roaches start going across the map, Mutas have to chase them. That's exactly what Serral starts to do, so RagnaroK just brings it back home, loses only one roach.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you can see the numbers now really starting to go in Serral's favor. And as Hydras get made to help deal with the Mutas, the Hydras aren't exactly ideal in Roach Wars, right? There's like a point where Hydras are nice, but Ravagers are actually just better than Hydras. They fill the same role, and they have Corrosive Vials.
Yes.
So, yeah, in general, Serral going to look pretty good here, and he's even building the Bane speed, so he's just going to Baneling Bust through the Hydra.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up as well. So the Baneling speed is already researching here as the Hydra transition comes up. Now, Hydras, they take a ton of damage from Banelings in particular. Serral scouted out what's going on. I don't even know if he started up the Baneling speed before he saw the Hydras, but he at the very least knows that is the most likely choice here. So that does mean that Serral plans on rolling his way to victory here in just a moment. Still needs to be careful, though, because that is a ton of Roach Hydra. It's a very powerful unit composition. It's not like you can just easily shut that down.
It is not. You gotta take the right fight. Gotta get the Banes on those Hydras. There's a lone Bane here from RagnaroK. We'll soften up some drones. That's run by potential for the future, perhaps. But yeah, again, the Roaches just gonna get hit by the Mutas a bit, force the Hydras to come further forward. Serral is maxed out, of course, and that means his army is terrifying right now. And yeah, I'm scared for RagnaroK.
RagnaroK spending what little gas he's got on a couple of Ravagers here. He's trying to go for one maxed out army. And you know what? I like this attack. He may be behind, but he finds himself in a best position he can hope for. Then again, though, the Hydras are getting absolutely torn to pieces right there.
I love that Serral's like dominating this fight, and then like, oh, by the way, here's the rest of my Banelings just showing up halfway through.
GG.
GG. Serral set himself up brilliantly with the early